What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Pick Swap podcast. It's another Tuesday morning. It feels like not Tuesday, though, to me. I don't know about you, Sean, but I'm back at home, so the days don't even really matter anymore. They just all blend together. But of course, I'm here with Shawnee B. What's up, Sean?
Yeah, what's going on? I'm back rejuvenated about the Sixers. Big win over the Kings last night. Stole one over the Nuggets the other night. So feel good about the road trip. We'll go home above 500. So it feels good.
Yeah, man, that was we had a long discussion about this road trip and what might happen with, these tough stretch of games. And this was last night's game was one you had on the calendar where you're like, gotta get that one, you gotta get that one. But since they did beat the Nuggets the other night, it was kind of a little bit of the weight off the shoulders because we didn't really expect them to take one from the Nuggets the other night.
Yeah, 100%. And it felt like a game. Jokic kept them afloat in the first half. I think he had 27 points. He was hooping and then kind of cooled off in the second. And it was kind of downhill from there for the Nuggets. A little bit of the Charles Bassey game. So that was exciting to see. Uh, it felt like I was waiting for Jokic to kind of take over on Bassey since he kind of checked in mainly in the second half, was locking him up, and it just kind of never happened. So cool to see that they kind of have another option in the big man rotation. And I've been very impressed with what I've seen by Bassey so far. So I think that might be something we see going forward.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's talk about him a little bit because I have been really enjoying what I've been seeing from Charles Bassey, not just because of that game, but he does kind of kind of reminds me of like an athletic Tony Bradley, where like Tony Bradley was always in the right spot at the right time and had good footwork and moved into the right positions really well. But he doesn't have the athleticism to keep up with some other bigs. Whereas Charles Bassey, obviously he's young and like he's still learning the game, which is encouraging to see that he's had this success so far. But like freak athlete is a really good rim defender from what I like I didn't really know that, honestly. We didn't see him at all in the summer league. We barely saw him in preseason, but coming into this year, it was kind of just like didn't really expect him to get many minutes, and I'm glad he held out for whatever $70,000 extra. I forget what it
Yeah,
was.
weird contract, unique contract,
Weird,
rookie.
weird situation for him, but he ends up coming in and in a right now again where the Sixers are down to their last like 7 or 8 guys, he's able to make an impact, and I think that he just brings another unique big look to the Sixers. Like you have Embiid, obviously, who's himself, and then Drummond is. I can't wait until Drummond's the backup again
Yeah,
because I'm just like I'm done seeing him on the court as much as I have. But then you have like I think you're kind of phasing Paul Reed out of the rotation a little bit, which I'm not happy about. But like Bassey does play the five in a much better, like structured, strong way than Paul Reed does.
yeah, 100%. And in this game, Bassey ended with played 19 minutes, ended with 12 points, 7 rebounds, 3 blocks, and was a game high plus 20. So pretty impressive numbers there. This is kind of who Bassey is. Like he has kind of been like a steal of the draft kind of from the beginning, and these are the guys that end up when you play with the margins and find success in that. That's kind of a major deal moving forward. And Bassey was a top recruit coming out of high school. Had a unique route because he got hurt at Western Kentucky and just going to an obscure school. So his stock kind of dropped when he got hurt. He stayed there for 3 years, which is a weird kind of course of action for a guy. But when you date back to high school, like this guy was a top rookie. Maxey talked about it in his press conference the other night, how growing up in Texas, Bassey was the #1 recruit and he was the #2 recruit. So kind of cool to see that come full circle. And Maxey seemed like the least surprised out of anybody. He's like, this is the guy I've been seeing doing this for years coming up. And I think he deserves a chance. It is sad that I think he's going to kind of cut Paul Reed out of the lineup a little bit, but he's just very like he seems to have like the feel for the game in a way that I guess we haven't really seen with Reed, and that he is just much more of a true center. He's extremely athletic. He's super long. The shot blocking is like a real asset. And like there's not as much madness that there is that it comes with Paul Reed. Like I mean, even last night, like with Paul Reed in the Kings game, like the first time he touched the ball, he jacked the corner three and airballed that. And Bassey's very content with kind of playing himself and just being like what a backup center needs to, which is an asset when we talk about rotational minutes.
Yeah, and when you're looking forward, and obviously Drummond's been playing really well, and he's a 1 year vet minimum. Like if you're looking ahead, and you think that you can make Charles Bassey into what he might be into next year, next 2 years, that definitely is something that you're looking forward to with him. And again, I don't think Paul Reed's going to be like, I think they still really like him. I just think
Mhm.
that he's not a five. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think, I think he's something different. He brings a much different look in terms of perimeter defense. switchability and things. And Bassey does a good job at that too. He's actually surprised me in that sense as well, where he's able to, stay on his feet, stay in front of a guy, and make things difficult for a driving guard. But Paul Reed, yeah, he came in the game, immediately shot the three, and
Yep.
then came down and fouled.
Yep.
But then he got the ball like 2 possessions later and made a nice reverse layup. Like it's just the way that Paul Reed's it's the roller coaster ride that is a Paul Reed minute in the NBA. So I don't know, man. It'll definitely be interesting to see what they do going forward with these guys when, especially when Embiid comes back, because like you can go three big men deep, and yeah, I don't think they will many nights probably, considering how much Doc is like infatuated with Andre Drummond.
hmm
Not that I, because Drummond played well last night. He did.
Yeah, the Kings game is probably the most effort we've seen from him on this kind of road stretch, and he really was an asset to the team on both ends of the floor. Defensively, he competed, he ended with 23 rebounds, which is absolutely absurd, and he definitely snatches rebounds right now too. Like there was the one free throw that was missed. I think it's Alex Len shooting that he
Yeah.
like full out peak and slammed it. And I'm just like this guy does rebound basketball. So
Yeah.
I mean, there are things that he does. He's a massive human being, so still an asset. It was incredibly frustrating to watch Tristan Thompson kind of come in and dominate for a little bit. But I mean, Drummond, he will be better when he gets back to his limited minutes, but he ate up innings the way we hoped for last night.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can talk about the Blazers game now a little bit because that doesn't even like that game doesn't really even sit in my mind. Like
hmm
out of these three games, that's kind of the one that I've erased, and maybe it's because they lost. But like Maxey again is just like, and we're gonna gush over him last
Yeah.
night as well because he didn't shoot the ball fantastically last night, but was still like I feel like clearly the best player on the floor most of the
hmm
night. But again against the Blazers, he had a great night. What are you just seeing from him, especially in a game like that, like two games in a row where he's going against some of the league's best guards, and he's standing out more so than they are.
Yeah, honestly, this Trailblazers game was the most notable Maxi game to me, and just no fear for the spotlight. This kid, he kept them in this game. He had 15 fourth quarter points. He ended this game 35 minutes, 28 points, 9 assists, 0 turnovers. Like he's the growth of decision making with the ball has always been huge. He hasn't turned the ball over and it feels like forever. And his
Yeah.
assist to turnover ratio is just absolutely off the charts. And he's ending up in some like elite companies statistically. When we talk about, there are a couple stats we tweeted out yesterday, just finding himself in the same category as guys like Curry, Durant, Jokic, are just absolutely absurd company for him. And in this Trailblazers game specifically, like this team down the stretch, it turned into a lot of like give it to Maxey and make something happen, and he did. And he was going kind of toe to toe with Dame. He kept them in that game. But he's so good at the little float, and he was hitting and ones, he was finger pointing, he was doing it all. So I was super hyped up with Maxey, and I'm really genuinely starting to believe that this guy can be like the perimeter creator that we're hoping for, and then coming into like a legitimate number two option on this team.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited for him. And in that game, like I said earlier, like just being able to go in against, I mean, CJ McCollum is looking great. Dame had he had a great game against the Sixers that night. He hadn't had a, he hasn't been playing exceptionally well, but he's still Dame Lillard,
hmm
and Maxey goes in there and he becomes the spotlight out of those 3, 4 guys, and it's just been like a genuine joy to watch him rapidly grow up in front of our eyes and play to a level that I didn't think it was even like when we were thinking peak Maxi
hmm
when we drafted him. Like, like? Was your thought this? Like, was peak for Maxi the Sixers first drafted him? Like, honest to God, might have been if he continues playing like this. Like, if this is his best season in my mind in 2019, I was like, that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
that's the peak Maxi that I was honestly hoping for. Like he is steps and levels ahead of what I thought he was going to be even 5 years down the road already.
Yeah, I felt like I had extremely high expectations for Maxi going in the year, and he's blown by all of those
Yeah.
already. And it's so impressive just how much he's learning at such a rapid rate. And he has like a legitimate like NBA separating skill. When we talk about his change of pace and the burst he has, that absolutely changes the game. And you saw it last night in the Kings game specifically. They were so keyed on like not letting that happen and making sure to switch and drop coverage just to prevent him from getting to the basket. And there were times where it didn't even matter. There was one pick and roll where they switched with Tristan Thompson and they tried to do the same prevent. He just weaved his way in, still got the bucket. And he didn't shoot the ball well yesterday. I do think it was probably his worst game in the stretch, which is still crazy because he ended up with 24 points and, like you
Yeah.
said, still looked like the best player on the court. But like I'm really am astounded by how quickly this guy's grown. He's definitely like on the trajectory of being like an all-star level point guard, an all-star level guard in this league, and a guy that really has become like kind of the saving grace and saving hope of this team. When we think about the growth that he has, is really what's keeping, like, I guess, our long-term hopes afloat when we talk about this whole situation that all we've been buried in. Like, Maxey's ascending to a legitimate guy in this league and a guy that can, like, you lean on. I'm so excited for Embiid to come back and see this like work out as a pairing, because I think there's been massive signs of growth with Maxey over these past couple games with Embiid out. So if this can continue when those two are back and start to get some chemistry between those two specifically, I think kind of I don't even know what the ceiling is for these two.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I don't know, we've been talking about this perimeter creator for a long time, and the guy down the stretch that can't have the ball in his hands, and Maxey still needs that's the big part of his game that, like, yeah, he's playing. He's elite at what he does. Like, let's be completely honest. Like, getting to the rim and being 10 feet in, he's actually an elite player. Like,
Mm-hmm.
floaters, elite. Getting to the rim, finishing around contact, elite. Quickness to the rim, like, he's incredible. There's multiple times last night where it's like he comes around a screen or comes around a dribble handoff and takes that one like long kind of hang dribble,
Mm-hmm.
and then he puts his foot down and he's past you. And like it's just like it's an elite skill that not a lot of people have, and that's like guys have used that for long careers, to lean on that skill. And like even we're watching like De'Aaron Fox, who has made strides as a point guard, in all the areas, but he's always leaned on that skill of take that hesitation dribble and like sprinting past your defender and getting past him, and then being able to create as a passer and a scorer from that level. When we see Tyrese Maxey kind of expand his range, and like you said, he shot poorly last night, but he's been a lot more encouraging from this area this year than he was last year, although he didn't get like a lot of opportunities last year. Um, like just shooting the basketball from three and from mid range, like he came out of the gate last night. The first bucket he had was a mid range jumper. Like,
Yeah.
as we go forward with him, is that like the one thing that you're really leaning on, that like he needs to become at least above average in this area, or like getting to very, very good at these skills that like then we're talking about an all-star player from there?
I mean, I think we're already increasing on that approaching
Yeah.
that conversation, to be honest. Like, I trust the development as a shooter. Like, I know there's kind of, it's still a small sample size this early in the season, but he's shooting over 40% from three. The shot looks pure. He's becoming increasingly comfortable with like the pull up mid range. Like, it is getting better. And like, I'm shocked. Once again, I just can't believe like the growth is happening this quickly. And a guy that there's been like a lot of buzz about is the De'Aaron Fox with like a potential trade and targets and things like that. And the Kings are, as we kind of saw last night, they're a little bit in shambles right now. Just fired their coach, and they seem to be ready for some organizational shift there. The thing that kind of holds me back on that is, and take this for what you will, I think when it's all said and done, like Tyrese Maxey is going to be a better player than De'Aaron Fox, and like trading for a guy that we're looking for to be a number two when I think we have a guy. Right now, I would say Maxey's probably like 90% of De'Aaron Fox, and I think he's getting better. So I concerns me like trading for a guy that I think we already have a guy that's ready to be better than. But so impressive in Maxey. Like, I trust Maxey's jumper a lot more than I trust Fox's already, and Maxey's is still getting way better.
Yeah, and last year was Fox's best shooting year, and I think he shot 33% from three, and that was like a big improvement for him, was to get to 33% from three. And not to discount De'Aaron Fox, I'm a big fan. I've really enjoyed his game, but that being said, like thinking about what Tyrese Maxey does, you are right. Like they play similar styles, and to be honest, the way from the game that I saw last night, I'd rather have Buddy Hield than De'Aaron Fox right now. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, I will say so. I've been a big Buddy Hield guy for a while. I think I've talked about this last pod. I think the Lakers made a mistake trading for Russell Westbrook over him, which sounds crazy, but just fit wise, I think Buddy is pretty good. I think he's shown improvements on his self creation, creating for off the dribble, doing a lot more. Like, he's more than just a stand up shooter. He's got a little bit of size. I like Buddy a lot, and it felt like a little bit of an audition for the Sixers in the first quarter. He came out ripping, knocked down 4 straight threes, really caught fire, and really just looked unstoppable for a minute. And he cooled off as the game went on, but still, like, there is that, like, the thing that we've always loved about Buddy, and that he continues shows that willingness to just let it fly. But he does it at such a high rate that it's like this is a legitimate, like, helpful category in this league. And obviously, there's a lot going on with the Sixers. We have a lot of spot up shooters when we talk about Seth Curry, Danny Green, Georges Niang. But if we could swing like a Fox and Hield deal, like, I think that's an upgrade over all these guys. I think Hield's better than Curry, than Green, than all these guys in the rotation. So it's definitely something I would be in for packaging both of them if we can make it work.
Yeah, man. It's tough to see. And we were going to talk about this in a little bit, but going back to that, like, I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago, like, if we had a player on the Sixers that was averaging like just under 20 points per game,
Mm-hmm.
making 4 out of every 10 threes that he takes, shooting 40%, like on 10 attempts per game, in the way that Buddy Hield does, like, we would be losing our minds. And I stand by that. I think that Buddy
Yeah.
Hield has become like that type of player in the NBA that, like, teams, if he wasn't playing in Sacramento, on this terrible poverty joke of a franchise that they are, um, like, people would care about Buddy Hield. And like, again, we kind of talked, like, it looked like neither one of those guys really gave a shit about that game last night. Which, like, if either, like, the Kings should win that game. Like,
Yeah.
any team that is full strength against a 7-man roster without 4 starters, they should win that game. And it's very embarrassing for them that they didn't. I understand what's going on there, and, like, Alvin Gentry is his first game. Alvin Gentry has been around for a long time. He's been a head coach, he's been an assistant coach. This wasn't like a whirlwind for him. He's been in that position before. They should win that game, but their 2, 3 best players could not care less about what happened, and they go into that locker room, they get changed, and they leave. And I would put money on the fact that they go home and don't think about that shit again. They just go about their day. I don't think they really care.
Yeah, I agree with some. I agree with most of what you said. I definitely think the Kings are a mess. I definitely think there's a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
changes in the works there. I don't think I wouldn't say they don't care as much as you say. Like, I definitely think Hield's won it out for a while. Marvin Bagley's obviously already won it out. There's been huge news with that. There were some changes last night when we talk about Gentry and his coaching. He gave Bagley some extended run, which it hasn't happened all season. He gave Tristan Thompson some more burn. Like, there were some rotational changes that he made and stuff that, like, not that long term makes a difference, but there is, like, ongoing change within the organization. The Kings are, like, there's certainly a shift occurring. And when we talk about, like, Fox specifically, because this is kind of who my, like, eye was on, because I just was really curious as the game went on how I would feel about a Fox and Maxey kind of pairing. I think he competed still. Defensively, I was still impressed with him, most specifically on Maxey. Like, it felt like there was a little bit of a not personal matchup there, but those guys looked like they enjoyed competing against each other. So I was impressed with what I saw from Fox defensively, which improved my mind too. Like, that improved the chances of them being able to play together. I agree that they kind of are showing up to it at this stage. Like, it feels a little bit of like you're here to make your audition tape for other teams on the Kings right now, which, like, I mean, that happens on teams, but I still saw things I liked from both those guys last night. So I wouldn't say they flat out don't care.
No, I don't mean that, like, I think they care about basketball. I don't think
Mm,
they care about playing for the Kings.
okay,
And,
that's fair.
like, if I was an NBA player at this point, and, like, everything that's like, if I'm De'Aaron Fox right now, and you're looking at the way that your career has gone, and it's like you're in year 5. From the start, you guys were like, "Okay, we're bad, but, like, we're getting there.
Hmm.
We're getting there." And you get Buddy Hield, and you get you take Marvin Bagley, and you could have had Luka, or you could have had Trae
Yeah.
Young, or you could have had all these guys. And you're in year 5, and not only are you not competing, you're actually much worse than you were in your 3rd year. So, like, I would be frustrated, and, like, someone asked them the other day in a press conference, and they were like, "Is there pressure?" He was like, "What pressure? It's not like we're in the playoffs, like, we're just playing basketball." It's like,
Yeah.
there's a completely different way of playing, and the way that you go about your life, like, with a guy like Maxey, who's coming in every day, and I think that he would be doing this anywhere, just because I think that's his personality. But, like, specifically here, he's coming in on a team that has championship aspirations, that has a coach that has been in the championship, has been in the playoffs, around players that have been in the game and been through the ringer and done all this stuff. And like he's fighting every day to be a part of a team that is going to the playoffs regardless, but and hopefully going deep Eastern Conference Finals, that type of thing. Whereas like Buddy Hield, De'Aaron Fox, those guys are walking in every day knowing, the clock's ticking down from 1 to 82, and the closer they get to 82, the closer their season is over. Like they just don't have anything really to play for after that. So
Yeah.
but I loved what I saw from Buddy Hield last night. Like I was kind of infatuated by him,
Mhm.
watching him play, and he did the shirt up, said something to Doc Rivers
Yeah, I
halfway through
love
the
it.
game, and I just wonder. I wonder if that's something that the Sixers look at because, like, I know that there's been concerns about, you know, I don't even know, like, defensively, I guess, is the biggest concern with Buddy Hield, but, like, if you have him buy in, and play for a team like the Sixers, that doesn't really concern me that much, I feel like, and if he's able to do what he's able to do, he changes the game for the Sixers, so I would love him in a Sixers uniform.
Yeah, and real quick, the one guy that seems untouchable on the Kings is Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah.
The Kings are insane to not trade Tyrese Halliburton for Ben Simmons. I really feel like Halliburton is a guy that is going in kind of the Simmons direction as far as like style of play, meaning that he's like a do the little things, set up teammates, be more of a passer, be like he's not going to be a primary star. And I think Ben Simmons is just flat out better than that at Halliburton, obviously, right now. And I just think long term, I mean, last night he 33 minutes. He had 0 points, 9 assists, 4 rebounds, 0 for 5 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3. The shot doesn't look good. I didn't trust it
No.
coming out of college. And like, he's been one of those guys with like a weird form, but it works. But there were like his 1 3 he missed last night was like a wide open look, had full out time. And I know it's a 1 game thing, so I'm not going to criticize the guy, but like I don't trust long term that the development is there for Halliburton, and just flat out Simmons is going to end up the better player. So I think they're crazy not to consider that. If we do talk about like realistic deals with the Kings, tell me how you feel about this. If we do a swap, Buddy Hield, De'Aaron Fox, and Marvin Bagley, and a first round pick for Simmons, Curry, and Green, how do you feel about that?
I mean, like, if you're the Sixers, you have to. Like, you'd have to do that deal if the Kings are gonna take that. Like, think about that. You're getting I like, 'cause I still think there's game there for Marvin Bagley. Like, I haven't been out on Marvin Bagley, by any means. I don't think that he was worth the number 2 overall pick when they took him, but I think there's still game there, and if you're getting Ben Simmons off your books, you're getting Danny Green off your books, especially for next year, that opens up a little bit, and then you're getting uh, a fringe all-star player in De'Aaron Fox, what he was last year, and what Buddy Hield does on a daily basis, on a nightly basis. Like you'd be crazy not to. I love Seth Curry. It'd be difficult to part with Seth because I'm a huge fan of him, obviously.
Mhm.
But like then you're looking like your starting lineup then looks like
See,
Maxey, Fox,
yeah,
Hield, Harris, and Embiid.
that's solid.
That's really good, and there's a lot of shooting there. Like, there's shooting that's made up for with Buddy Hield. The only concern, I guess, is the matchup or the meshing of Maxey and, De'Aaron Fox in the backcourt because they play similar styles, and neither of them shoot the ball, in, like, a high capacity, but you have Buddy Hield for that as well. So, I think the Kings probably wanna do 2 separate deals. I feel like they'll get more value for them each separately, but if you're able to pull something off like that, I feel like you'd have to if you're the Sixers.
Yeah, I agree. I also think it's kind of a Morey-esque move to trade Curry now. Like I love Curry. He's been absolutely excellent. There's absolutely limitations in his game. And I think Buddy Hield straight up would be an upgrade when we just talk about the overall play. Because defensively, Curry is pretty much like a zero. And it is tough having like a backcourt of Maxey and Curry because they both are undersized, both like 6'3" guys. Like just matching up is difficult down the stretch. Uh I'm not as in on Marvin Bagley as you at all. I just don't think he's very good. I mean, I think he's a playable guy for limited minutes, but I don't see it anywhere. I think that's more of a make the money work and get the headache out of there on their end. All three of these guys from the Kings are guys that seemingly want out or at least have shown some expression of interest over time. So I think it's definitely an option. Uh, I'm absolutely about it. Let's send Ben to Cali the way he wants, and I'm down to make that happen.
I think Sacramento is the perfect place for Ben.
Yeah.
I
I
think
do think he would do well there. It's, like, not too much pressure. You're still out in LA-ish, out in Cali where you wanna be, and
yeah.
kind of like the niche weird team that I think he could have not that much pressure on him.
Yeah, and I think that the Kings fans would just be like, "Oh my god, we have someone that's actually good." But like like you said, I feel like it would definitely be the only overlap you see is the Fox and Maxey backcourt that just like it lacks the shooting. When I talk about Marvin Bagley, I don't talk about Marvin Bagley as like a starter. I think as like that stretch 4-5 that we've been looking for, like a guy that can play both, like in a Doc Rivers system, like where we call Doc Rivers the floor raiser.
Mhm.
I think he brings Marvin Bagley from being like pretty meh to like, oh, he's actually pretty decent. And, like, that's all you really need from that type of player, and I think Marvin Bagley has that skill level in him, and I think that he's just been kind of handcuffed by Sacramento, and, like, again, I don't think that he's gonna come out and be like, "Oh, he's gonna drop 20 a game and, be this elite post scorer, stretch 4," that, like, I think people thought he was gonna be, but he's dealt with injuries, he's been in a really shitty rotation, I think there's maybe something to it, but, like, d I just don't see, like I mean, the Kings they're idiots. They make terrible trades. They make terrible decisions all the time. So maybe they do end up taking this deal. I feel like that's highway robbery if you're the Sixers. Like, I mean, I
I
guess
think
not because Ben is Ben, but
and
like
I
I'm kind
also
of seeing
think
that as like a loss already.
Seth Curry is like an asset to teams right now. Like
Sure.
he's been incredible over the past like year and 18 games so far, and just like the playoff performance, I think is something teams won't forget. Like he kept the Sixers in for stretches. He's a guy that like legitimately has raised his stock a great deal since being here, and on an $8 million contract is pretty crazy
Yeah.
value. If they're then looking at like kind of a Simmons, Halliburton, Curry will probably be a rotational piece there. Like is a guy that like if you can look at him as a building block, he would be the best player the Kings have had in probably like 20,
Since
30
Chris
years.
Webber.
Who knows? Yeah. Chris Webber. Yeah, probably. So like this is a rare chance that like a guy that like you can get for I feel like it accomplished both goals of kind of moving on in the organization and giving you kind of the core fresh start that like you're looking for on both ends. So I think it's something that there is there. There's enough smoke surrounding the Kings right now that I do think something could happen, and I'm all about it. I also think the Maxey and Fox duo with enough shooting there, and I think Tobias is fine enough. Buddy Hield obviously will help space the floor. Like there will be enough spacing for them to both be able to do their thing, attack the basket, and I trust Maxey's shot more than Fox, but I think like there's enough willingness to shoot and enough kind of signs of development, specifically in Maxey. But Fox, I think it's like it's doable. Like I will at this point, and I'll still take the like willing to shoot, even though you're not great at it, versus like a guy that is just
Just
not
doesn't.
willing at all. So not that they're shots, but like I think Fox would be a direct like improvement for the offense as a whole.
Yeah, dude, and the amount of pressure put on the rim when you're talking about 2 guards that play the way that Fox and Maxey do, and then just, like, that's literally open season when you're talking about shooters, like, you bring in Buddy Hield, and he's having to run off dribble handoffs and take 3 screens to try to get an open shot playing for the Kings because they don't care about, Mo Harkless. Nobody cares about Mo Harkless shooting the ball or whoever it might be, but, like, if you have Embiid setting those screens and you have Maxey and De'Aaron Fox putting pressure on the rim like that, like, you're talking about literally wide open dead eye shots from a guy that makes 40% on contested shots.
Hmm.
So like shooting helps open the lanes, but like when you have 2 guards that create so much in those lanes, just it makes a complete difference in what the shooting world does as well. One guy I really want to talk about because he missed a lot of time and it's easy to forget sometimes. Man, Matisse Thybulle was awesome last night,
Yeah.
and I was, I'm sitting here, I'm loving it all. Every minute of Matisse, a great Matisse game is like, I think on top of like a really good Ben game, like a Ben triple double, I think a really good Matisse game was up there for me as like my most enjoyable. So last night was also a season high for him, 15 points. But I think he had what 5 steals, like which is another season high. Like just doing some crazy stuff from him and just super fun to watch. So what'd you see from Matisse?
Yeah, most points in I think it was 2 or 3 years, so cool to see since
His last time was
2019
against the Kings,
against the
and the
Kings,
other
yeah.
he had
But
20 against the Kings.
yeah, he ended with 15 points, 3 steals, 2 rebounds, a block, +7, 6 of 8 from the field. He was just snatching and going coast to coast and slamming it down. It was awesome to watch. It was cool to see Matisse kind of break out a little bit. Like you said, he's missed a lot of time. He hasn't truly found his kind of role, and we threw him on Buddy Hield, changed the game a little bit. The way he kind of followed him around, and he really did play an asset. He played 33 minutes last night, which is a lot for him, and it was cool to see Matisse when he's like playing well offensively. He knocked down a 3-2. It was a two for a dollar shot. After he
Yeah,
missed the first one, got it back, knocked it down on the second attempt. So when there is offensive game there, and last night was a night where he did show flashes of that, you absolutely need to leave him on the floor because defensively he's so elite that he really is like nearly a zero on offense most of the time. And when there's stuff there, like he looked really good as a cutter last night too. Maxey found
yes.
him on a couple coming to the basket that were just great. Like he looked like an asset last night, and I would like to make more use of his cutting. Like he's a guy that I think's wasted a little bit, kind of sitting in the corner. Like that's just not how we're getting the most out of him. And there has been enough spacing in the past to really utilize him cutting the basket and making some of the runs and cuts that he does. But I loved it last night and absolutely happy to have him back.
Yeah, man, and he, like you said, as a cutter, off the ball, I think he's done a pretty good job. And he even is like a decent passer when given the chance. Like, not that you want him to be passing all the time by any means, but he made a nice pass into the paint last night to Andre Drummond. And I think he ended up getting fouled, but like he does things like kind of well in a lot of ways. Like he's done a better job of like when he has a chance to dribble drive to just like take that straight line drive instead of like kind of avoiding it. Like you said on that 2 for 1 where he caught it, missed. Someone got the rebound, passed it back out to him, and he got another chance. Like I was just happy he took it again.
Me too. Yeah.
I was kind of worried that he was gonna miss 2 in a row. I'm not gonna lie. His shot is not gorgeous. It's definitely one that I'm kind of worried when it goes up in the air that it's not gonna go in. But like you said, man, as a defensive player, he's one of the few guys in the league that like you put him in the game and there is an immediate change of pace defensively. He's putting pressure on your best players. He's changing the way that they play, which means he's changing the way the rest of the offense plays. He's deflecting passes. He's blocking shots. He's reaching around. He's stealing. He's poking the ball loose. Like we talk about the steals and the blocks so much, but like he's literally just like relentlessly attacking the ball. And when you get as many deflections as you do, like things happen. And even if you don't get a steal, even if they just have to reset and there's 4 seconds left on the shot clock, like you made a difference.
Yeah.
And there's not too many guys in the league. And it's so disappointing, like with Ben and everything, because I think that they were like 2 of maybe 5 or 6 players in the league that could come in and be like when they want to be a legitimate game changing defensive player. And like there's a handful of those in the league, perimeter wise, that do that on a nightly basis. And I think like Matisse is legitimately one of those guys.
He's one of the few guys, and I think I've like almost never seen this before where you beat him and it's almost more dangerous. Like when he's
Yeah.
behind you, guys are like looking back scared. You feel the arms kind of like coming around,
Yeah.
reaching, and it feels like he gets his hand on so much that it's just like when you see him, when he goes over a screen and a guy goes to the basket, like they feel his presence on him the whole way, and he's so good at just getting his hand on the ball there. So the steals and blocks that come from that, like it's dangerous. He can really swallow up a guy by doing this, which it's a complete asset. It changed the game on Buddy, and we saw the way like he started off so hot, and just being able to have Matisse like as an option off the bench, just throw at a guy and just kind of go bother him, go stick with him is so huge for this team. And honestly, like the other thing that we've talked about a lot with the Matisse and Ben relationship, kind of is that like they both had such similar strengths and weaknesses that it was tough to keep both on the court, especially with the offensive liabilities and just both being like struggling as far as shooting and options with that. That with Ben not being here, it does extend the amount of minutes we could give to Matisse, which I love, and I think that's huge, and I'm happy for the guy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's nice to see him back in this rotation. Obviously, he was like just out with COVID and everything, but like you're slowly seeing like it's a very simple thought, but it's almost one that like takes you time to realize like he's like a seventh man in this rotation, and it's like he comes in the game and he's like, "Oh my god, he's a difference maker." It's almost
Yeah.
like if the starters are better than the bench players and they make a big difference in these games. Like, literally just having him, changed the way that the Sixers played last night, and they were able to win, not just solely because of him, obviously, but because of the way that he was able to play on Buddy Hield and the way that he played defense, and Drummond even, in that way, he had a couple blocks late and offensive rebounds late. So, I'm excited to get this team like actually back. Seth was out again last night, Tobias out again last night, DG still missing time. Like, it's just been kind of tiring watching these, like, staying up late to watch the the end of the rotation players. But even in the game last night, they fight hard and they get a win. So is there any news for what do they play tomorrow? The Sixers play tomorrow
Yeah.
against Golden State.
Yeah, Warriors again tomorrow at 10. Embiid's still gonna be out for that one. It sounds like it's weird the lack of information surrounding Embiid. Like it feels like there's
Right.
been way less knowledge with him than the other guys coming back. There seems to be some sort of issue with getting negative tests and something like that. I'm not exactly sure. They haven't said a lot. The good news is he is back in Camden and working out at the team facility. The Sixers are obviously on the West Coast, so he's away from the team still. But hopefully rejoining soon. It sounds like either Saturday versus the Timberwolves, which is a 6 o'clock game, which is super happy about, or
Nice.
at home against the Magic on Monday. It looks like the target date for Embiid. So the good news is it is coming. It feels like it's been a while, but he will be back. And when he's back on the court, this team is back in full swing.
Yeah, and they're still fighting. Like, it seems like this has been like this stretch definitely has been a fight,
Mhm.
rather than like they're kind of figuring it out. They're just like literally in a fist fight every single night, which is like there's something to be said about that. It's kind of nice to see that these guys have that in them to go in and just kind of knock out, drag out, do whatever it takes to win. And last night you saw that with 7 players, like, just do everything it possibly takes. And I will credit Doc for that. I feel like that's a lot of him and Sam Cassell and those guys getting them ready, and no excuses, just going in to try to win these games. I think a lot of credit deserves to go to them. And I've just been really like, as much as these kind of have been like not totally enjoyable games to watch in terms of just like talent wise and what they're doing and scheme wise, it has been enjoyable to see the young guys get a chance. And Isaiah Joe looked good last night.
Yeah.
Like, these guys are getting a shot. Paul Reed, even at times, like, he's not getting all the minutes, but you see, like, we wouldn't have seen Charles Bassey in these moments had no one gotten hurt or no one been out with COVID, and we wouldn't see Isaiah Joe in the rotation. And who knows? We probably wouldn't have even seen as much George Niang in these moments. He's definitely cooled off a bit, but like, he's been awesome for this team. And like, you just don't get to see the like evolutions of these players if it weren't for the things that have happened. So finding silver linings is everything, and I feel like it's been kind of nice to see this second group fight for these wins that they've been able to get.
Yeah, it's been awesome to watch these guys compete and fight, and every game has been hard fought. The Jazz is the only game that we've been blown out in really
Yeah.
all season. And also, it shouldn't be like brushed over. Think back like a little over 2 weeks ago, the Sixers were 8-2 and sitting at the top of the East
Yep.
when we were still at full strength. So, not that that was expected to fully keep up, but it's not long ago that this team looked very good when it was at full strength. And getting that back is it's coming soon, and we're going to be right back into competing with some real teams, and we'll see. So, Warriors tomorrow, not really looking like a winnable game, but that's okay. They're coming home from the from the road trip with still in the winning record column. So I think that's a huge takeaway in itself. It's cool they scrapped to get it there, and good outlook moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're hopefully getting Curry back, Tobias back. Like,
Mhm.
is there any news on them? Like, was just like last night they were just
Yeah, I think it was more of just a rest night, not rest night for him. I think they both have some dings. Toby's dealing with the hip, some back soreness for Curry,
yeah.
but I don't think either one of them are long term concerns.
So hopefully on tomorrow night we'll get back Curry for a little. The Curry brothers is always a fun matchup to watch, and
Definitely,
then obviously Steph is the MVP of the league right now. But
yeah,
beside the point, and then hopefully Tobias back, and maybe you can get some full strength, and who knows, never know.
yeah.
But the Warriors look like the best team in the league right now, and Klay Thompson just got cleared to come back soon, so good for them. I'm happy for him. Big Klay and Steph fan, so they'll get back from that, and then what, they come home on, is their first game back on
Saturday,
Saturday? Wow, so
yes.
they get a couple nights off, which is nice,
Mhm.
after they're traveling back. So hopefully they're seeing them get back to full strength here, and we're definitely gonna keep up with you guys. So we'll talk to you guys again on Thursday morning. Do you want to? It's Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, true. We'll figure it out. So
And
we'll,
say maybe Friday. Maybe we'll
yeah.
push it off a day.
Mhm.
Um, regardless, we'll be talking to you towards the end of this week. You can follow us on all our socials at PickSwap Pod. Check out the YouTube. Check out the TikTok. We just put one. Sean put one out yesterday. We're going to be updating those more often. Follow Sean at Sean_Bernard1. Follow me at JSBrain17. It's been a pleasure as always, and we'll talk to you guys soon.